It was an ordinary night, or at least it seemed that way. A heavy fog hung low over the forest. Silence pressed in on every side. No headlights, no radios, not even the sound of engines broke the stillness. To the untrained eye, nothing was happening. But in reality, the night sky was alive with hidden eyes. High above, early warning satellites picked up faint traces of heat. Moments later, a reconnaissance drone confirmed what Ukrainian intelligence suspected. A Russian armored column was moving silently through the woods, heading toward a vulnerable sector of the defensive line. 14 vehicles in total. Tanks, armored personnel carriers, and supply trucks towing trailers. They were covered with camouflage nets. Crawling through dirt roads, using the forest as cover, hoping to remain invisible. In another era, they might have succeeded. But in the 21st century, silence and darkness are no longer protection. They are a trap. Against modern technology, every hidden convoy becomes a glowing target. Inside a Ukrainian underground command post, 50 kilometers away, the data streamed in. Heat signatures of engines glowed like lanterns on operator screens. Exhaust trails lingered in the cold night air, drawing lines straight to the enemy. Commanders had only minutes to decide. Artillery was too inaccurate in dense forest, and missile systems needed more than an hour to prepare. Too slow. The solution came swiftly. Ukraine would deploy a weapon few outside military circles had even heard of, a new generation of strike drones, known only by their code name, Griffins. At 2:07 a.m., the command post gave the signal. Somewhere on a disguised launch site, technicians moved quickly but quietly. Within minutes, the first Griffin drone rolled out of its shelter. Sleek, angular, built with carbon composites, it looked more like a hawk than a machine. Its electric engine purred softly. Quieter than a motorcycle, quieter even than a passing car. One after another, 7 drones lifted off into the darkness. They climbed no higher than 100 meters, staying beneath most radar sweeps. Each drone carried a modular warhead, some with shaped charges designed to pierce armor, others with fragmentation payloads to shred infantry and equipment. Their wings bristled with sensors, infrared cameras, laser designators, terrain avoidance systems. From the command center, operators watched as their screens lit up. Each Griffin transmitted live thermal imagery. The forest glowed with signatures. The hot outlines of tank engines, the steady warmth of trucks, even the faint movements of soldiers stepping out for cigarettes. The silent hunt. Unlike traditional artillery, which saturates an area with fire, the Griffins hunted like predators. They did not announce themselves with noise or trails. They glided silently, locking onto targets one by one. The first drone settled into position above the column. Its operator aligned the crosshairs on the lead tank. At a command, it dropped into a dive, accelerating to 200 kilometers per hour. The impact came with surgical precision. A shaped charge burned straight through the turret roof. The explosion was small compared to missile strike, but devastatingly efficient. The tank's engine died instantly, tracks locking in place. Seconds later, the second drone struck the rear vehicle, a supply truck carrying crates of ammunition. The detonation lit the forest like a lightning bolt. Flames erupted, sparks flying skyward as shells inside cooked off. The convoy was trapped. Its head and tail were both destroyed. The remaining vehicles, boxed in by wreckage and flames, had nowhere to go. The swarm unleashed. The other Griffins descended one by one. Each attack was coordinated, surgical. A drone pierced the side of a fuel truck, igniting rivers of burning diesel. Another dove into an armored personnel carrier, its payload shredding soldiers who had no chance to escape. In under 6 minutes, 7 drones had reduced the entire column to chaos. Engines burning, ammunition exploding, soldiers scattering in panic through the trees. What artillery would have needed hundreds of shells to achieve, the Griffins did with a handful of drones, each costing a fraction of a tank round. For the operators, it was almost surreal. On their screens, glowing silhouettes turned into fireballs. The convoy had ceased to exist, erased from the forest as if it had never been there. The forest that had been silent minutes earlier now looked like the edge of hell. Flames roared between the trees, turning the night sky orange. The lead tank, immobilized by the first strike, burned furiously, its ammunition detonating inside the turret. The supply truck at the rear sent pillars of fire into the canopy as fuel and shells erupted together, scattering deadly fragments across the road. Panic in the column. Russian soldiers, caught between burning wrecks, broke ranks in panic. Some fled into the woods, their silhouettes glowing on the operators' infrared screens. Others tried desperately to put out fires with handheld extinguishers, but every attempt was pointless. Fuel poured out like rivers, spreading flames in every direction. One group scrambled to mount a heavy machine gun, hoping to fire blindly into the night sky at their unseen attackers. But before they could pull the trigger, another Griffin swooped in. Its fragmentation charge exploded just meters above them, tearing through metal, flesh, and trees alike. The machine gun lay twisted, its crew scattered. The drone's second pass. The surviving Griffins, still circling overhead, shifted into hunter mode. With precision guidance, they targeted individuals running through the trees. One drone tracked a squad of soldiers trying to regroup near a ditch. It dropped sharply, releasing its warhead directly above them. The explosion left only silence and smoke. Others followed fleeing figures deeper into the forest, their operators calmly guiding them onto targets. One by one, glowing shapes disappeared from the thermal feeds. The drones were relentless. This was not bombardment. It was a systematic erasure. Reconnaissance confirmation. By 3 a.m., the attack was over. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones arrived to document the aftermath. Their high-resolution cameras transmitted chilling images. 14 vehicles destroyed or burning, ammunition still exploding in secondary blasts, fuel flooding the dirt road in flaming streams. Dozens of Russian soldiers lay scattered, their positions betrayed by heat signatures that slowly faded as bodies cooled. The operators in the command bunker sat in silence, watching the data scroll across their screens. In less than 15 minutes, a convoy meant to reinforce a Russian line had been completely annihilated. Not one vehicle escaped. The forest had become a graveyard, and the Griffins had proven their worth. The loss of the armored convoy immediately rippled across the battlefield. That column had been carrying not just vehicles, but critical supplies, fuel, ammunition, food, and spare parts. Its mission was to reinforce a vulnerable section of the Russian line and prepare for a planned counterattack. Instead, the reinforcements never arrived. Russian units at the front, already stretched thin, were left without fuel for tanks, without shells for their artillery, and without backup to rotate exhausted soldiers. Ukrainian commanders quickly exploited the gap. Within 48 hours, reconnaissance patrols confirmed that Russian artillery fire had slowed dramatically in the sector. Ukrainian infantry advanced cautiously but steadily, reclaiming several defensive positions abandoned by demoralized Russian troops. What a week earlier had been a dangerous front line stabilized overnight, all because 7 drones erased a convoy in the forest. The message to Moscow. In Moscow, the incident could not be hidden. Satellite imagery, Ukrainian drone footage, and even local witnesses all confirmed the destruction. State television called it a minor logistical loss, but behind closed doors, commanders raged. If a single drone swarm could eliminate a convoy this size, what did it mean for Russia's entire supply network? Every truck, every rail shipment, every fuel depot became a potential target. The Kremlin faced a grim reality. The cost of protecting its convoys was spiraling out of control. Deploying layered air defense for every supply run was impossible. Moving at night no longer guaranteed safety. Even disguising vehicles with camouflage nets and tree cover had failed. Drones had made logistics, the backbone of any army, into a liability. Psychological fallout. The strike also crushed morale. Survivors of the convoy spread stories of an invisible enemy descending from the sky. Soldiers began refusing to travel in convoys without extra protection. Commanders reported delays as drivers stalled or rerouted out of fear. The image of Russian armored might, long a symbol of intimidation, now seemed fragile, vulnerable to machines no bigger than a hawk. Global resonance. Abroad, the Griffin strike made headlines. Western analysts called it a watershed moment in drone warfare. Ukraine had demonstrated that not only could hold off a larger army, It could dismantle it piece by piece using ingenuity and precision. NATO officials took note, and discussions about supplying even more advanced drones and electronic warfare systems gained momentum. The lesson was clear. Traditional warfare, tanks, convoys, artillery, was no longer invincible. The future belonged to swarms, precision, and the ability to strike without warning. The forest was still smoldering when dawn broke. Blackened hulks of tanks and trucks lay scattered among the trees. Smoke rose in thin columns, drifting like ghosts over the wreckage. For the Russian soldiers who survived, it was a nightmare burned into memory. For Ukraine, it was something else entirely, a sign that the rules of war had changed forever, a revolution in warfare. The strike against the convoy was more than a tactical success. It symbolized the arrival of a new kind of battlefield, one where drones costing thousands could erase targets worth millions, where silence and precision mattered more than brute force, where small machines, guided by human intelligence, could dismantle the steel giants of the 20th century. Traditional armies had long relied on mass, tanks, artillery, endless convoys. But on that night, 7 drones showed that mass could be turned into vulnerability. Every convoy became a potential funeral march. Every engine glow was a beacon to the sky. The psychological victory. Even more than the physical destruction, it was a fear that mattered. Russian soldiers whispered about the Griffins, unseen hunters that struck without warning and without mercy. Commanders hesitated. Drivers delayed departures. Fuel trucks stalled in depots. The convoy's strike didn't just cripple logistics. It spread out through the entire chain of command. For Ukrainians, the opposite was true. The success lifted morale, proving that innovation and courage could level the playing field against a larger, better-equipped foe. It was a story shared across trenches, told in hushed but proud voices. 7 drones, 15 minutes, an entire column erased. The future of conflict. International observers called the Griffin strike a glimpse into the future. NATO generals studied the footage. Defense industries took notes. Politicians debated what it meant for global security. If small drones could undo convoys and armor formations, what did that mean for wars yet to come? The answer was clear. This was the dawn of drone warfare. Not a supporting role, not a novelty, but the main act. The legacy of the strike. In just one night, a hidden bunker, 7 operators, and 7 drones rewrote the script of modern combat. The Griffin swarm didn't just destroy 14 vehicles. It destroyed an illusion, the illusion that size and power guaranteed safety. And as the smoke drifted skyward, one truth lingered over the battlefield. The age of giants was ending, and the age of hunters had begun.